Podioslave podcast, episode 120. I am Anthony. I'm here with Nate. And not just Nate. Tony, too.
Yep.
Oh, Tony's here.
I'm Tony. I'm here. I'm here tonight.
All three.
So what's going on, guys? Are we excited to pod again? Or how's the energy level tonight?
I'm shrugging my shoulders. The energy level is high. The energy level is always high when we're discussing nerdery. I'm just we're all on the East Coast, which is kind of fun. Nate trekked his way back east, and we're still recording in the middle of the night because that's what we do. We're just kind of creatures of habit. But yeah, here we are recording, doing our thing as we always do, in three separate rooms still, but we'll be together soon enough.
Yeah, so you came home and you're not even in the same room. What's going on?
I know we're still socially distancing for whatever reason. It is what it is. But quarantining. I guess I was traveling.
Bro, I had COVID.
Yeah,
We're
right.
done here.
Had COVID. Got the super enzymes.
That's how that works. Yeah.
Electrolytes? You drank Gatorade?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be back.
Hold on. Is Spotify going to flag that because we talked about COVID? No.
Oh, they might. We're not saying anything. We're not telling anybody how to handle it. We're just saying that we might have had it.
Hey, if we get the banner, that makes us very official, because anyone that's an official podcast has that kind of disclaimer, So
That is true.
Not a bad thing. But yeah, man, made the trek. I'm one of those statistics that is spending an arm and a leg to fly across country and rent a car for quadruple what it was 2 years ago. So this is definitely an expensive trip, but well worth it. And it's good to be on the East Coast geeking out. Like you said, it's late, but that's how we do it. It's actually nice, though, to be honest, because when we do it when I'm on the West Coast, it's prime time. It's 6:30 p.m. And, I'm still kind of in the middle of 12 different things, and I'm whatever, let's nerd out. So it's kind of nice to be on your time, and everything's closed down, and you can kind of hone in some real nerdery.
Hell yeah. I mean, Maine's been asleep now for 2 hours, so it's nice for you to be able to join in the evening festivities as Twan and I typically do.
And the listeners can't see it, but Nate his background, he's at the start of a horror movie. It's in a cabin in the woods or something.
Yeah, the last house on the left.
I actually thought he was outside, and then I didn't hear any animals outside in the background. Or maybe they're there. I don't know.
They're just being quiet, getting ready to sneak up on him.
Yeah, I am in the middle of nowhere. I'm in a cabin. It's a very special cabin. In these walls contains many bins. So Twan and Anthony are actually holding...
Twan and Anthony? No.
Tone and Anthony.
Hang on, pause. And I'm not cutting this because this is tough for you. And I got to give you credit, Nate. The fact that you're able to not do that over 120 episodes, I think that's only the second time that's ever happened. So
damn.
Kudos to you for being good at that.
And guests, right? Guests don't even do it.
I know.
Yeah, so these walls contain inventory of different nerdery through the years, but Tone and Twan are both holding a bin in their storage, but I actually have stuff in storage here in this cabin in the middle of nowhere, and it's good. So I can get to kind of rifle through that stuff and geek out. One thing, though, when you said Maine is asleep right now, I had one complaint before I jumped on, which is I ran to the store really quick and I could not find any good beer at all. So I actually grabbed a 6-pack of PBR, which is a disgrace because Maine's got such amazing craft beer.
Man, you are out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere.
There was nothing. Yeah. It was this or bud. I'm I guess I'll do PBR.
He's under a rock, Twan. He's under a rock. You can't leave your house without seeing an Allagash bottle somewhere. You know what I mean?
Are you on an island? Where?
I love it.
I'm on the border of Canada. I should have just gone to Canada.
Yeah, right. They have decent beer there too, though. Get a couple Molson Triple X's, guy.
So Nate, while you're home, are you checking out some music, or are you just gonna do the woodsy stuff?
Well, I mean, so I had a little bit of a trek to get here. So I flew into JFK, flew into New York City. Used to live in New York back in the day, 07 era, and it was sweet. Got to see some old stomping grounds, checked out some record stores that I used to hit up back in the day. A few actually went under, so it was sad to see. I know we've talked about that on here before, venues and record stores going under, whether it was pandemic related or just the change in the tides for the music industry. But there was one that's still around, so check our socials on that one. It's called Generation Records. one of my favorite spots in Greenwich Village. That's the spot that you find a t-shirt from a band that you would have to pay an arm and a leg on eBay for, but there it's like $15 kind of thing. Or like a nice import poster or vinyl record that's dusty but worth a lot of money, but for whatever reason it's not on Discogs. That's the spot. So I'm stoked to check those things out. And then in Maine, I'm gonna check out the Michael Franti show randomly in Sydney, Maine.
I know
Nice.
Sydney, Maine's a random spot for that show.
It's so random.
If you're familiar at all with our state, it's like half an hour, 20 minutes north of Augusta, which is our capital.
Yep.
And the fact that he plays Portland when he comes, typically Franti, but to be up at that place and explain that show, Nate. It's kind of funky, right?
Yeah, I mean it's in the middle of nowhere. I checked out the venue. It looks like the venue got some kind of influx of cash to bring in national acts, which is kind of cool, inspiring actually that they can pull it off. But yeah, going with some friends, and it's going to be a trek to get there and a trek to get back. But I needed to see at least one show in Maine, so that's the one. Or for now, unless there's something else you guys can think of.
Yeah, we'll put our heads together.
Hey, Maine we do get the shows. As we say, we get Thompson's Point down here, down southern Maine, up in Bangor. They get shows. I mean, Foo Fighters are going to play there. A Day to Remember. They get every country act known to man. I think Luke Combs is going to be there.
Yep.
We get them, but you still got to travel. I mean, some of those shows up north, I'm closer to Boston.
Yeah, we are. We're closer to Boston. And we're always like, oh, man, Boston, I can't get down there. We're like, oh, Bangor, I guess I'll go.
Right. And there's a casino.
Yeah, well, that's part of the lure.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I was bummed. Like the days that I'm here, Portland, for whatever reason, has some kind of weird lapse. Twan, you just saw Bon Iver at Thompson's Point. I would have loved to have been there. But, there's really nothing in the duration that I'm here, which kind of sucks. So I don't know Lauren, what's up with that,
I know, right? We need to get a little bit more stuff kicking around here. This early in the summer, I'm kind of surprised that it's a lull, and it's when just happened to coincide with when you were home, which is kind of a bummer. But getting back to Generation Records, you sent that video, Nate, and I almost had you just go through every shirt and tell me what they were, so you could buy me a couple of them before you came up. But that would have taken a while because if there was, hundreds of shirts on the wall, right?
Oh my God, dude! It's like I didn't have enough time. Like I was kind of in a rush actually, because we were meeting up with a family member for dinner. So I ran in there, like told my wife, like I have to go in here like really quick just to like scope it out really quick. Which a record store, like that's just not realistic. So it's almost like a bluff. You're going in, hey, I'll be a second. 20 minutes
I'll be
go
like
by.
2 minutes. I swear I'll be like 2 minutes.
It's like when there's 2 minutes left in the football game. There's only
Yeah,
2
right.
minutes.
Yeah, I use the male version, or maybe male or female, but for us, at least us three, like it's our version of like going clothes shopping. It's like, hey, I'm just gonna be a minute,
Yeah.
You're trying on clothes, but actually looking through like every single record as fast as possible.
Every
single one,
every T-shirt, every poster. Like we just want to look through all of them because you might find that gem that you can't find anywhere.
I mean, you can always find a Ramones T-shirt, right? But this place, like, speaking of Quicksand, we had they had Quicksand T-shirts there. It's like, what?
It's awesome.
But, I mean, it's a New York band, I guess.
Man.
It makes sense. But yeah, speaking of Sergio, like who we had on, and like they had Quicksand T-shirts. Like that's just, you don't find that anywhere unless you go on eBay or.
I didn't know when you first sent that video. I didn't know that was Generation Records because I've heard about that. It's
really
pretty well known. And I'm dissecting the walls and stuff. And I mean, that place is this podcast. You had a Cornell poster next to a fucking Warzone poster. It's like, I mean, there's something there for everyone.
I love when we find places like that though, because it's like the embodiment of what we've tried to do here, in podcast form. Like you're going to find the Cornell poster next to, something from a different genre that just fits. And we're like, we love it all. So yeah, well, let's do it. Let's buy that T-shirt and buy that record right now.
Yep. And there's like promotional posters on the wall, and there's like show posters on the wall from shows that are like 5 years old, and they're still like, they just didn't take it down yet, and everything's super dusty. That's why you find those records in there that, are worth a lot of money, because I don't know what it is, but it's very old school to the fact that they don't even have any kind of system. It's just they got a record, let's call it an original Soundgarden Super Unknown LP, just kind of in the mix, and you're like, damn, this thing's worth a fortune, and I just got it for like $30.
We love those places, man.
Yeah, there's not enough of them. up here, up in Maine. I mean, very nothing really like that. There's a couple places downtown, but it's not like older stuff like that. It's more, it's almost like a distro that some guy just put together, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point. I tried to dissect it actually when I was in there, because I'm like, how did this place survive, you know, the gentrification of the industry, but also the pandemic? Like, how do you survive? And I think it's a result of the location. Like, New York City is, you know, it is what it is, but it's also a lot of small business that thrives on, you know, their niche, and that's a smaller record store that like people are traveling to grab that one thing and bounce, and so they're still making rent, you know, and maybe they're probably grandfathered in with rent too, so like why leave? Like, at least we can break even. And maybe also because they're not on Discogs, I don't think, I could be wrong there, that people know it's almost like a treasure hunt. Like, hey, I'm going to travel from Europe to fly to this record store because I might find something, because they're just too lazy to like have a system to have it all categorized, you know.
Yeah, well, Q Mark Weinstein, we had on, episode 7, talking about in one aisle you got this, and one aisle you got that, and you're just in the middle of it, and it's the best. So
for any record collector, you know, there's so many treats out there in the bins. You know, it's a nonstop treasure hunt when you're in our store. There's like, you know, 500,000 records there. You could go in any direction and see, you know, who knows what. And that kind of serendipity of like, just turn to the left, turn to the right. Like, what are you going to see? You know, there's really nothing like it online.
Yeah, we love that shit, and I'm sure we'll find more, and we'll post more as soon as we, you know, we get. Anytime that Nate just happens to, you know, walk by one in Southern California that he's never been to before, it's we get another video on the socials page, which is fun for us. All right, so main segment tonight, and we've talked about a bunch of stuff on here, and the name of our podcast is after a supergroup, right? Podioslave equals Audioslave, and the fact that we hit 120 episodes before we really even talked a ton about supergroups is kind of wild to me. But here we are, finally, on episode 120, gonna fill you up with a little supergroup talk, a little nerdery surrounding bands that are made up of other band members, right? So stuff that we nerd out about all the time. We hear about this new group coming together that is, you know, members of Rage Against the Machine and Soundgarden, or Caius and Foo Fighters and whatever. We get all that, and we want to hear what they're going to turn into, what they're going to sound like sonically, and how we're going to feel about the music. And it's another way for us to nerd out. And supergroups are long been a thing. They've been around for, probably 60 plus years now at this point, if you look back. But yeah, we have never talked about them. So here we are. We're going to do it tonight. The main segment is supergroups.
So you just said something that made me think. You just said when we hear about, you know, a supergroup consists of this member and that member, and it made me think, in that moment when you first hear about it, are you excited, or are you like, oh man, they're gonna ruin a good thing? Where are you guys at in that spectrum? Does it depend on the mix?
It definitely depends on the mix. I think, like, yeah, it depends. There's so many variables. Like, if it's like some hippie jam band and, you know, like Oysterhead with members of Primus and Fish, like, cool, you know, do more shit, whatever. But, you know, speaking of the origins of our name Audioslave, when Audioslave first came out, I was super bummed. I was like, oh, really? Like Rage and like Soundgarden. I loved both so much, but I was like offended. I was like, why would you do this? Because Zach is such like a prolific artist. Like, it just seemed like a slap in the face to the fan, really. I mean, to me at least. And that changed over time, but it took a long time. I think it took, so like Audioslave's debut came out in 2002. I don't think I gave it any kind of attention until 2004, 2005. Like, I was a late bloomer. So it definitely depends, I think.
Well, because there's also the angle that it takes away time from the original projects. Yeah, that's right. The angle you're thinking about. I never even thought about that, really. An Audioslave album means less chance for Soundgarden material.
Or Rage, but they had kind of broken up.
Yeah.
When I first heard, and just to kind of belabor the Audioslave point, heard that was going to happen, I was bummed too. And then I heard that kind of opening thump, thump, thump of Cochise, and I was like, all right, I'm in. Like, that didn't take long. This sounds fucking badass, and it's going to be Cornell fronted. I'm down. I'm down to see where this is going to take me, and then I loved that record. So do I want the other two bands to still exist? Obviously, but at the same time, we got cool stuff from those guys as a collective, which we may never have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, you're right. It is situational. It does depend on where those other acts are. Because Rage they were done. Where was Soundgarden at?
They were kind of on hiatus.
Exactly. Yeah, Soundgarden was done.
They were done. Yeah. So I could see both sides of it, where you're like, all right, well, this reduces any chance of those old bands coming back. But on the same token, we get some new stuff in some form from the musicians that we like.
Right.
Yeah, that, and it keeps everyone's chops up, right? Like, if you're not doing anything, you could just kind of fade away into obscurity. So Cornell had some substance abuse issues, and the Rage guys were, I mean, on top of their game with their last record. I think the interviews that I read with Audioslave, they were like, yeah, Zach left, and like we were just like writing like nonstop. Like we were ready to continue going. In fact, when we brought Cornell into the mix, we almost continued with Rage Against the Machine as a name, and we were like, we thought about it and realized, maybe we should, do a different band name. I don't think they thought of it as a supergroup. They literally thought it Cornell originally as a replacement to Zach, which is really interesting because it's not even remotely close, obviously. Although his range is, he could probably pull it off in a weird way. I don't think he could do the verses.
Yeah, it'd be
justice.
different.
Rage Against the Garden. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound Machine? No, that doesn't work.
Sound Machine actually might work.
Well, Miami Sound Machine's already a thing, so.
To your point, though, like, is it going to take away? Does it take away the chances of these bands getting back together? All those things considered, they have to continue making music for them to stay relevant. So the guys in Rage continued going. Chris Cornell came kind of out of the blue. I mean, he was in hiding for the most part from '98, I think, is when Soundgarden broke up, and then Rage 2000. So that you call that 4 years if Audioslave's first album came out in 2002, and he just resurfaced, and his voice is pinnacle on that record.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. So, yeah, Soundgarden's Podioslave's a great way to kind of kick off this conversation.
You say Podioslave or Audioslave?
Both. They're both a great way. Podioslave kicking off the Audioslave and and supergroup conversation. Go ahead, Twan.
No, I was just dialing back to the name of this podcast. When I've had people in conversation that it's come up, they say, "Oh, is it named after Audioslave?" And it is and it isn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
We don't want to be the podcast that people think is just an Audioslave podcast.
Right.
But when you dig into it, are we a supergroup? Maybe.
I think we are of fans. I think if you think about where we all have come from and the music that we listened to growing up, we have our intersections, but we have I went this way and listened to hip hop, and I went this way and listened to metal and hardcore, and I went this way and listened to, Jammy or Pearl Jam or whatever, and we all come back to the middle. And I think it's why it works. And I think we said that on episode 1, didn't we?
We did. Yeah. So go actually. Yeah. Go back. Go back.
A demo tape. Listen to the demo tape.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
You see the progression.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Play the old stuff.
Yeah. Oh, man. In real time, drink. So yeah, that's a good way to lead us off, Twan. That's a good question. Like, how do you feel about it when you hear about it? And you're right, it really does depend on who's coming together as the band that is now going to be the supergroup, and are they taking away from something you would rather hear? And obviously, until you get the music, you don't know. But once they become established, you might know a little more, and maybe you're okay with getting something from the supergroup, knowing that the other bands on the back burner, it's not going away.
Yeah, and I think it's also proof that maybe it's conducive for the bands to get back together, because both Rage and Soundgarden got back together. This is turning into like a Podioslave deep dive.
Right.
But if it hadn't been for Audioslave, I wonder, if those bands would have gotten back together in the first place. Was Zach like watching from the side stage, like, oh shit, these guys, like, they still kill it, and Chris, Cornell's rhythm section being like, oh shit, like he can still hit these notes. Like, hopefully we can get Soundgarden back together at some point, because those records are solid. His writing on those records are just amazing. So I think one of our questions that we were kind of bringing to the table was, is it a good idea or a bad idea to do it, to put up a supergroup? And I think for this band in particular, I think it was a good idea because it proved that you can stay relevant, but you have to do some kind of sport. You can't just like, do nothing and hope to come back. There's those rare occasions. I think Zach De La Roca being one of those that somehow he can come back into the mix and just nail it. But the guy's a rare instance of that occasion.
Yeah, I think that question I'm going to answer from the band's perspective, and from the musician's perspective. And I think from their perspective, it is a good idea. Like, what else are they going to do? If their old band is done, it's either you go back to the band you were in, right, or you link up with some of the best musicians in the world. And at that point, I don't think you owe fans anything. You don't owe fans a damn thing. So this is us. We're going to jam out. We'll probably still pull numbers live, so we know it's going to be fun. But at that point, I feel like the fans on for the ride, and not vice versa. At that point,
yeah,
fuck the fans. We're doing what we want.
There's an element of that for sure, but like at the same, and I think what I come back to is, are they people who they're friends with other musicians, and they're like, I want to just play music with my other friends, and maybe they went on tour with at one point, or maybe they've always just wanted to make music with them because they like the way so and so plays drums, or the bassist is one of the best in the world, or et cetera, and they want to just put together ideas that they don't think fit with the band that they're in currently too. So there could be that.
So the flip side of Audioslave would be Prophets of Rage, right?
You're not letting this go, man. This is the Rage and Tentacles episode. Yep. I like it.
It's too easy because you just said it, Tony. It kind of just popped in my head. So who did they get to replace Zach on that project? It was Chuck D from Public Enemy and Be Real from Cypress Hill, which they've toured with extensively and also covered both of their songs. So I think it was almost like, hey, like, we're not going to stop. We definitely want to play our songs. Zach's not down. He left the band twice. So, Zach is so hard to replace. If we're going to play Rage songs, I guess we're going to have to do two different vocalists and somehow continue our legacy and not fail as a live band. If Zach wants to come back a third time, we can at least know that we're tight live.
Did Prophets of Rage play Rage Against the Machine songs live?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they did.
And I'm sure they played How I Could Just Kill a Man, which Rage stole from Cypress Hill on Renegades. All right, Twan, take us away. Take us away from the Audioslave Rage Against the Machine world. What else are you thinking about? What other bands kind of come to mind for you here?
All right, so when we kind of thought of this episode, I naturally thought of a bunch of supergroups, and I was just kind of racking my brain. I'm like, well, who could be the biggest supergroup? And I don't know if this is the biggest, but it's one of them. And it's a band that's never regarded ever as a supergroup. It's a band we talk about a fair amount on this podcast. We've done a full fucking episode on their catalog, a house band, but we've never once mentioned them as a supergroup, but they are, without a doubt.
Ooh. I don't know who you're talking about.
Foo Fighters?
The Foo Fighters, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you get Dave, Scream in Nirvana, Pat Smear, founding member, the Germs, and then Nirvana for a stint, Mendel with Sunny Day. William Goldsmith, original member, was with Sunny Day. Taylor came in from Alanis, and then Shiflett from Me First and No Use for a Name later. But man, like, it's funny how that storyline got lost in this is Dave from Nirvana's new band.
You're right, man. My mind is a little blown, but I knew all of this, but you're right. We just don't regard them as a supergroup.
It's funny. I was just doing a little research and thinking about it, and I was like, shit, I don't know. Don't hold me to them being the biggest ever, but I'll think about it, and we'll check in next week on that. But
I think you might be right. At least, of the last 30 years. I know the Traveling Wilburys were a big supergroup. It's Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, George Harrison, the Beatles, Jeff Lynne, and Bob Dylan. And that's all those names are huge, but they were all kind of solo-y acts. Not everybody, but there's a decent amount of them that were doing their own thing, and then they came together to form that band. So that's a little different circumstance, but I definitely think of the last 30 years, easily, how can you not say the Foo Fighters is the biggest one? They really are. They're coming from all over the place.
yeah, they escaped the fucking supergroup label.
Yep.
But you're right. Traveling is it Wilburys?
Yeah.
Yep.
Name brand, absolutely biggest supergroup. The dudes you just named, 100%.
And I think the only reason Foo Fighters got away with that is because Dave wrote that first record, right, as almost a solo record.
Right.
So because the origins start as a solo band, without it being titled Dave Grohl and the Heartbreakers or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Hey, he might do that at some point.
I know now, especially that's probably why it didn't fall in that bucket, which is really, it is quite interesting, because otherwise they wouldn't be playing clubs. They would have just probably he would have transferred from playing arenas with Nirvana and played arenas with Foo Fighters, but instead he started from scratch, which is kind of heartwarming to know that he was ready to start all over and with a new band. But like you said, like, it was a supergroup, but the origins of that supergroup are not like arena bands like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. Like, come on, like, it's pretty cool in that regard.
It is a good point though, because if they did, well, I don't know. I was gonna say, if they did label it as a supergroup, you're right. I think they would have started on second base instead of first base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although they still kind of did start on third base.
Yeah. Well, once people knew it was Dave Grohl, it's like, all right, I want to pay attention to this, and the songs are good too, which when that helps.
And he can sing. Holy shit.
Yeah, the guy has an ear for all of this. No way. All right, cool. All right, I'm into that.
I know, it's crazy. One thing I was thinking about, the term supergroup, up until we researched for this episode, I thought it was a relatively new term until I did the research, and like you said, Tone, that it originated, back in the 1960s. It's kind of an old thing, like, that's been around for a long time, from like Cream to, like you said, the Traveling Wilburys, going forward. But for our kind of come up, it was Audioslave, it was Velvet Revolver, bands like this, where it was, bands that we kind of knew, and for whatever reason those bands dissipated or got kicked out and started new things. So it seemed like a marketing play for our era, just because it was like, oh, okay, like, you got kicked out of that band, like, obviously you're gonna have to do something, or bands disbanded or whatever, so you got to do something and keep your chops up. But I wonder, like, Dave had started Foo Fighters as a solo project and then recruited different members to come into the mix. But I'm thinking of bands like Dream Car, which is like Danny Havoc of AFI, and then you have the rhythm section of No Doubt. Same thing though. No Doubt's a huge band. AFI is relatively big. I don't think they ever played like arenas, but they barely got off the ground. I'm pretty sure they did like one leg and disbanded. So it's really like launching a brand. Like, just because you have a good product doesn't mean you're gonna just have instant success.
Was Dream Car, like, sound wise, was different than both of those, the ingredients, different than AFI and No Doubt? Wasn't it kind of like dancey almost?
Yeah, like new wave.
Yeah,
which AFI kind of steered into that direction at one point, but yeah,
they did. Yeah, so that like makes me think of, in all these instances, why? And in that case, it makes sense. It's something different. It's something sonically very different than what they're used to. Those two bands are, deep into their careers. If not now, then when? I get that. And with Foo Fighters, it made sense. Some of those, Nirvana was done.
Yep.
Sunny Day, they were still going, but
yeah, they had to like pry Nate from them, didn't they? Pretty much.
I don't know. I'd have to deep dive into that.
I think we've mentioned the Foo Fighters documentary from 2011, I think, that mentions that he was kind of like, all right, fine, I guess I'll join up with you guys, like, stick around, which obviously was the right move. And Sunny Day's back together now, right? I mean, they're doing shows, so.
Yeah, is he with them?
I don't know. It's a good question. My guess would be yes. I'd have to fact check it, but
yeah,
with all that's gone on with the Foo Fighters camp, I mean, if you want to keep playing music, it doesn't hurt to go back with your old boys and figure that out for a little bit. Another band that I think on a smaller scale, similar to the Foo Fighters though, but on a smaller scale, doesn't get the supergroup moniker put on them is Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh yeah, true.
Yep.
You got Hame from Caius, you got Lanigan from all kinds of different things. You had Dave Grohl for a hot minute. Like, they're all over the map. And then other people coming and going from different bands into Queens of the Stone Age. So that happened, around late 90s, 98 or so, and kind of blew up with Songs for the Deaf with Grohl drumming on it, and that being like probably the most commercially successful aspect of that band. But they're highly regarded as a stoner rock desert band that Nate and I definitely ride for, and they don't really get lumped into the supergroup category, but they're definitely one.
Now, why do you think that is? I think it's because they never pitched that, one. Mm-hmm. Two, when they came out, how well known were the previous bands? You know what I mean? That's might be part of it. I think they certainly gained in notoriety after, but why do you guys think? I'm just curious, in general, why these acts never get that label.
I think for Queens of the Stone Age, it's similar to the Foo Fighters, whereas Josh was essentially writing, I think, a majority of the music for that first record, and recruited some ex-Caius members to jump on board, at least as touring members, maybe even some writing credits on that first album. But I think it's the same origin story of the Foo Fighters, which is like, hey, like this band member, Josh Homme, is going to do his own project, and it's going to be called Queens of the Stone Age instead of Josh Homme and, the Heartbreakers. I'm just going to keep using that.
Desert Riders.
Yeah.
This is Podioslave and the Heartbreakers. No, that's a good point. Like, I think they didn't lean into it, using the Queens of the Stone Age example. But other bands, I think, do. They're like, hey, check out this new supergroup that we just formed. Like, they totally, they totally grabbed that moniker because they want to bring in fans of those other bands. Maybe it's 2, 3, 4 bands, depending on how many people are coming from where. And now you've got, maybe some built-in fan bases that are into checking out this new entity. So I think it definitely happens for some of those bands, especially as they're starting out. Once you're established, it's a different story. But if you're starting out, you're a new band, new supergroup, in quotes, and you're trying to get people to pay attention to what you're doing because maybe it's good, maybe it's not, whatever, but you're pulling people in, you're grabbing from those other fan bases that you've already kind of established.
Totally. And if there's a label involved, oh my God, labels fucking
love that.
I mean, look at that Institute record. They, I mean, the words Gavin Rosdale were bigger than Institute. And then, like, I have a radio copy of Rival Schools, their album, United by Fate. And half of the insert is just about the history, about Walter and Sammy and that story. And the funny thing is I don't think anyone, like a typical major label fan, would even know about that. It's like they missed the mark. But yeah, labels love that, to play the for fans.
Are they even reading those liner notes? I mean, that's an us thing.
That's true. Yeah, they don't give 2 fucks about it.
Yeah, I think what we're getting at here is there's a conscious decision to market the album or band as a supergroup or not. And a lot of it has influence from the label, but also the band, because as a band member and members, you have to make that conscious decision. Like, hey, do we want to, bring in our legacy fans into this? They're going to find us anyway, probably. Do we really want to market it that way? Or do we want to start clean slate and not have any of the maybe positive negative connotation to the band that broke up and have haters, I mean, you think about like Damage Plan, ex Pantera, like, that's how Dime died, right? Because Pantera broke up, and had it not been marketed as, I don't even know if that was marketed as a supergroup, but definitely like ex Pantera marketed band was the reason why we lost Dimebag Darrell. So there's a lot of conscious decision making, like, hey, like we should just, everyone already knows who we are. We don't have to regurgitate the fact that we're from this band that everyone knows. We should just start a whole new thing, which I think is an artistic choice. Like, hey, like this is my new thing, and yeah, you liked my old thing, this is my new thing. Like, you already know who I am. Like, why do I have to plaster it everywhere too,
I think you're right for some of the bigger names. Like, you're going to get that with Dave Grohl. Are you going to get that with even Mark Lanigan at the time? Maybe not. Maybe yes. Or somebody even smaller that you don't know the name because they played bass in a band that you love the band, but you didn't know the bassist name because you're not a nerd like that you're going to find out all those people's names. So it depends. Yeah. And I think you're right. There could be some backlash. There could be some man, I don't want to listen to this new project because I love that other project so much. I don't want this to taint that for me. So that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
What do you guys think of? So you have we've discussed the Foo Fighters, we've discussed Audioslave. These are projects coming from the ashes of other projects. But then there's a supergroup, and I'm going to give an example of this. That's just a fun fucking supergroup that the guys just wanted to switch things up. They'd been in their bands for 10 years before this. The Damned Things.
I thought you were going to say hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. On the heels of Damage Plan, I could have said hell yeah.
I know.
But the Damned Things. You get Andy and Joe from Fall Out Boy on drums and guitar. You get Scott Ian of Anthrax on rhythm guitar. You get Keith Buckley, Every Time I Die, on vocals. And I think, who was it? Dan from Alk Trio on bass. And I think the original bassist was Rob from Anthrax. So you got all these dudes ranging from pop punk to, metalcore to thrash, just kind of making this kick-ass, like Every Time I Die light rock record. Mm-hmm. Yep. Why not?
Yeah, they're just having fun. I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier about I just want to play music with my friends. Maybe they're people that we toured with. Maybe they're people that we just happen to know because we were in similar circles in the industry. And let's make a record that isn't what we were going to make with our bands, but we want to make it still. Like, this still needs to be in the world. Let's birth this thing that 100%. should be out there still. So I think that's those types of supergroups. Fucking all in, man. I love that shit. That's a blast because you just get extra. It's like you go up and you order a small soda or a small whatever, and you end up getting a large by accident. You just get extra. It's awesome. It's perfect.
Nice. Oh, analogy king. Fuck, dude, that was great.
Supersize me.
Yeah.
Supersize me. You know what's cool about that is they opened for some band. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember, but it was at the State Theater in Portland, Maine. And the coolest part was, Fall Out Boy was huge. Anthrax obviously is huge legacy-wise. And because they were the opener, they were just hanging out. They were just like in the crowd, and they were just like at merch booth, just chilling. I'm like, dude, you guys are playing fucking, Sheds. And Anthrax has been around forever, and you guys are just, Scott Ian's just literally at the bar, just chilling. So you get like kind of like that out of pocket experience where it's like, hey, I'm not with my main gig, so I'm just going to be chilling whenever. If you guys want to hang out, it's almost like you get like this second chance. You get this out of body experience as the band member, but for the fan, just easy access. And I thought that was kind of cool. And for them also, for especially the Fall Out Boy guys, for them to almost prove like, hey, these guys are truly our influence, and we get to like make music with these guys now. So it really shows like the blueprint of maybe Fall Out Boy or their riffs, like, hey, like I'm actually writing music with these guys because this is who I grew up with. It really shows like a full circle moment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and that gets back to really what you were saying, Tone, which is I just want to make music with my friends. Mm-hmm. Music is our niche. I want to make music with our friends.
Exactly.
It makes me wonder, like, how, take the Damn Things, how'd that even come about? You know what I mean? Was it just on tour, their buddies, they just texted like, hey, let's jam out? But yeah, I mean, the Fall Out Boys have roots in metal before, in hardcore before Fall Out Boy. So they're scratching that itch, and they're a fun fucking band. I'm actually jealous. I've never seen them. Jealous of you, Nate.
I know, I'm jealous of Nate too. That's a pretty cool band to see.
I know. I need the spreadsheet because I need to figure out who they opened for. I have no idea who it was.
Right.
I bet we'll find the interwebs will tell you.
Yeah. You know what I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen yet. We get all those like best summer ever tours from bands like Sugar Ray, that kind of bands of that ilk. I'm not going to just single just them out, but them and like Everclear and whoever else. They go out on tour every summer and they play places like Hampton Beach that hold 2,000 people. Why haven't those bands banded together and made a couple of supergroups and gone on tour like that, and then like been like a traveling road show where they play Sugar Ray songs and Everclear songs and Eve 6 songs, people like that? How has that not happened yet? Hoobastank, like what do we do? This is a missed opportunity. They should totally have done this by now to gain some relevance again, right?
Well, who would front it?
They'd all just take turns. It depends on the song. You could do their songs, and then you could have new songs, and then trade frontmen.
Have you guys heard of the band The Sound of Animals Fighting?
No.
No, that's a great name though.
Yeah, they're like an absolute punkish adjacent band, like the type of band that would be on Absolute Punk or Chorus FM. I'm pretty sure like it was just a huge collective.
Mm-hmm.
So it reminds me of that. It's like the 90s alt rock, kind of washed, kind of one-hit wondery.
So you're telling me this happened already?
No, I'm just saying that like it reminded me of that. Like I'm trying to think if I'd have to look, but I think it's like dudes from RX Bandits and maybe Finch. I don't know, a bunch of bands, but something like that. Like this giant collective, just a bunch of dudes on stage.
Yeah, just like 35 people out there. You get like 4 bassists, and they're all like trying to fight over who's in front. That'd be amazing.
Hey, someone might be listening, might go run with that, and it might be a thing. I don't know what you'd even call it. Like
it could work too. Who knows? Like I might go see that if that comes to the State Theater. That'd be even just for the pure chaos of it.
Everclear 6? What would you call it? I don't know.
I don't think those guys get along. Neither do the Third Eye Blind guys and Eve 6. Pretty much anybody in Max don't get along.
There is an iteration of this actually that used to take place in Los Angeles at I think it was the Whiskey. I can't remember. Where they would do something like that. It would just be random band members of all these bands, and they would just come up and play basically covers of each other's bands. I know Dave Navarro was a big staple of this band. I can't remember what it was called. But so at least it was doable in that realm because it was live. I don't think there was any like conflict of interest with label. Because you got to think, if you're touring, that's revenue, right? So there's got to be a split there somewhere where whatever contract you're tied to. But it was being done in Los Angeles for quite a while. I just can't remember what it was called as some band. Anyone that's listening, definitely hit us up and let us know if you were at those gigs, because I remember they disbanded. It might have been a reason for legal reasons.
I mean, live though, that shouldn't be an issue, right?
Yeah, if it's live, I don't think it matters, especially if it's a band name that's not just like a generic band name which I know this band in particular, like it was a random band name and they played covers of each other. So like Fred Durst would go on stage and they do a Limp Bizkit song, and Dave Navarro was a staple guitarist that obviously played Jane's Addiction songs, and
anything off of One Hot Minute?
Possibly.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Let's go, Dave. Yeah. All right, Nate, you're in Maine now. No more Cali stories. Fuck that shit.
Well, Nate, it does remind me of Hazen Street, which was a super group with Toby of H2O and Freddie and Hoya Madball and David from Boxcar Racer. But it reminds me of them because Chad of NFG was in the band, wrote the album, but could not be listed on the album at all because of the MC, something to do with the MCA deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Those damned record deals and their legal bullshit.
Yeah, so the cheat code is playing live, and I remembered who it was. The band name was called Camp Freddy, and they would play like every other Friday.
Nice.
And I remember.
You remembered who it was, or you looked it up?
Might be a
no, I know. I'm letting everybody know how the sausage
sleuth.
is made.
Yeah. I'm a Jamie. Well, not really, but I want to be.
We need one. Sella, what are you doing over there, bro?
Camp Freddy. So that's what I was talking about. Look it up. Super interesting. Like they would just play gigs like every other Friday in Los Angeles, which is very typical LA. Like all these guys live in LA anyway. So yeah, they'd just show up, play songs from each other's bands for like 3 or 4 hours. Pretty cool. I never went, but I wanted to check it out.
You should have gone, man. Ernest goes to Camp Freddy. We're off the rails. Yeah, baby.
I've never even heard. Jeez, I've learned a shitload tonight. Yeah, you're right. Dave Navarro was in that band.
Yeah.
Mark McGrath.
McGrath of course. Oh, man. But we love all of that stuff, and we want to see more of these things, but maybe some of them can go away too, right? Like, when does this go wrong for you guys? Like, just it's never a good thing.
Are you looking for like band name examples, or
or just
like themes, or just reasons?
Either way.
Honestly, I can't think of a band, and maybe I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but anytime where I'm like, why? Mm-hmm. What would make you think that is a good idea? And hey, maybe people would think that about some of the supergroups that worked, or maybe even I thought that and they proved me wrong. But sometimes the sum is not greater than the parts with some of these.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, very politically correct because there's so many band names.
Hey, the industry's small, man. Let's keep it positive.
Especially because we've had some on here, which is, I think, something I got to bring up is, without naming names, is a lot of these super groups, and it's kind of meshes into side project, is those side projects and or super groups sometimes just sound like said band, right? So it's like, hey, like, what's the point? Like, are you at this point, you're just burning your actual core group and getting additional revenue on the side, which is bullshit. Which
maybe they're fighting with their bassist.
Possibly. But it goes to the point from the beginning of this episode, which is it's taken away. So if you're making a project that literally sounds like your core day job, you're not doing anyone's service, listener and band members alike. You're really just taking songs that would have been band blank and making band blank 2.0. And maybe, I guess, the only benefit in that case is you're playing smaller venues than you would have. Yeah,
that's a good point. But it's also, you're right. Like, if you're gonna do it and just sound the same, what are we doing? Like, why waste the energy to do that? And we're not naming names, but just generally speaking, like, if you're gonna put out similar music or the same sound, like it makes sense to like change it up a little bit, right? Like, or put two different sounds together that haven't been together before, that they're still doing their things, but they're coming together for the first time, and that's kind of cool. But if you're just gonna be a band or be your other band but with different members, it's kind of weird.
So I'm not going to throw any band under the bus based on sound, but I will call out a supergroup band name that's just terrible.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, a bandicap.
Oh,
yes.
Shit.
Chicken foot.
Oh,
Chicken foot. So I actually read a little bit about how that came together, and I guess they like jokingly named themselves Chicken Foot as like a gag, like internally.
Yep.
And then I think they were asked what their name was, and they were like, fuck it. Chicken Foot.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you're just like, and we've heard this a million times with different bands, if you're just like coming up with the first thing and living with it, and then you become a thing, you're stuck. Like your brand name recognition is there now. You don't want to lose that. Like, hell, we're at 120 episodes of the Podioslave podcast. Are there days that I wish we weren't called that? Sometimes, not because I don't like the name. I love the way that it sounds, but could we have done better? Did we know that we were still going to be doing this 2.5 years later? No.
Right.
Here we are. So that happens to bands too all the time. And you come up with this name because it's funny in the moment, and then 16 years later, you're like, hi, we're so-and-so from wherever. And you're like, what the fuck are we still called this?
Yeah. Limp Bizkit.
I mean, are you buying a Chicken Foot t-shirt, Nate?
No, definitely not. Unfortunately. Van Halen, yes. Chili
Based
Peppers,
on
yes.
name or sound?
I haven't listened to him enough to give him that proper assessment.
Me neither.
But yeah, band, like, name alone, like, I'm going, the older I get, the plainer t-shirt I get, like one logo, very Frank Maddox. We haven't given him a plug in a while. The better. So
No, we haven't. You're right.
drink.
I know, right? That used to be one we used to drink about. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like every episode.
That's almost 100 episodes ago. Just FYI.
It's like 10 years ago.
It feels like it sometimes, doesn't it? That was early pandemic.
So I got a question here, which I kind of alluded to earlier, which is, what is the difference between supergroup and side project? I feel like there's some gray area there.
That is a good question. I think, well, obviously the gray area sometimes with side project is only one person is from a band that anybody knows, so they're not technically a supergroup. But in the cases where maybe they're pulling people that are session musicians or something like that, I think it's just kind of semantical. You're going to get side project more with other members and maybe one person from a different group.
Yeah, like I feel like for a supergroup you need 3 like brand name dudes or gals.
Yep.
Okay. That makes sense.
Speaking of gals, Twan, Boy Genius, Julian Baker, Phoebe Bridgers, and Lucy Dacus. That's a cool all-female supergroup.
I haven't spent as much time as I probably should have with them.
I haven't either, but I love the 3 of them on their own. So, like, worth checking out. And I mean, I'm a Julian Baker fanboy from the start. The Sprained Ankle, such a good record, and she continues to put out great music. And Phoebe, I've gotten into Phoebe more over the last couple of years. So
Yeah, missed opportunity at Thompson's recently,
it
right?
sold out so fast, though. Sold out so fast.
Yeah, I think that's one to look back on and be like, ah, shit.
Agreed.
Show regret.
Ooh, we haven't done that in a while either. But yeah, I think it's kind of semantical, Nate. It'd be more like you've got to have a couple of people from another group to make it a super group. Otherwise, it gets kind of labeled a side project.
Yeah, at least two, right? Because if it's one with a bunch of, I don't want to say no names, but lesser known names, that's in Angels and Airwaves. Or if it's just at least two, let's call it Broken Bells. You have Danger Mouse and singer from the Shins. That basically is officially a supergroup because it's two big names.
Yeah, that's I actually can see that.
Yep, that makes sense.
So maybe it depends on the stature of the artist, but hey, let us know what you think. We're not the experts. You, the listeners, are the supergroup experts.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there are some supergroups that we didn't talk about that we should listen to that maybe you love. Hit us up on the socials at Podioslave, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the back of the phone book. Anywhere you can find us, we'll be there. That's where at Podioslave lives. And email us podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. What else do we have, guys? I can't even remember. We have the website. Go to podioslave.com for all things nerdery.
Tumblr, MySpace,
Facebook? Yeah,
Facebook.
Live Journal.
Yeah, Facebook. Live Journal. Yeah.
if this pod was 15 to 20 years ago, we would have a live journal.
Oh my god,
oh, totally. Easy. Yeah.
I wish we had a Tumblr.
I would say 2 out of the 3 of this host had one anyway. I'm glad that doesn't exist anymore.
I'm sure we could dig it up.
Oh shit, you're right. But yeah, no, hit us up. I mean, we love doing this. We've got big things in the works behind the scenes. Hoping for an interview for y'all next week. If things pan out, we'll have an interview for you. If not, you're going to have to listen to us 3 again, and we're going to do one in person. We haven't done one in person in almost a year. We'll do that again here in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be fun. And man, I just love that we get to do this every week.
Yeah, geek out every week. In person's going to be great, man. It's proof that the pandemic's coming to an end, and it's also proof that we're still alive and breathing. So it's going to continue. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, OG apps, interviews, big projects. It's a lot going on behind the scenes. We got people going cross country. We got jobs. We got families. We got possibly some big names in the works. So you just have to keep an eye out on everything that Tone just mentioned, all those platforms. That's the first place you're going to find it. And I think with that, are we done?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we're done.
Yep.
We're done.
What do we say when we're done, Nate?
I think we say everyone knows the rules. One spin. Everyone knows the rules.
Peace, podheads.
Peace.
We say music is our niche.
Cheers.